Damus has received the green light to stay on Apple's App Store. This comes after a 2-week battle that started when the tech giant threatened to remove the Bitcoin-friendly social media app for violating in-app purchase guidelines. Joining us now is Damus founder, Will Kasserin. Will, thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey.
Good. Thanks for taking the time to be with us this morning. Why don't you briefly talk us through this journey? There's been a bit of back and forth between Damus and Apple. Tell us where it started and how we ended up where we are today.
Yeah, so initially there was a battle to even get on the App Store. It required me to probably post it multiple times. It took like weeks. Eventually I got on the App Store, but as of 2 weeks ago, they basically told me that we're going to remove your app from the App Store if you don't remove this tipping functionality, which kind of sucked because it was a big part of the app. It's a big part of what makes Damus special. So I pushed a new version. They said it wasn't good enough, and so I was at the point where I just basically had to remove tipping altogether.
What exactly about the tipping aspect did they say was the problem?
Yeah, so their guideline is kind of confusing because it says if the tip is ever used to unlock digital content, then it's not allowed. So in Damus, digital content is never unlocked. You only ever tip after the post is made. So I just found it very confusing, and I felt like they were kind of abusing that guideline. But then I had multiple calls with them, and they said their main issue was just the fact that button is on the post. They do not want Bitcoin tipping to be associated with digital content at all, whether it's unlocked or not.
Well, I think a few days ago, we got an update that you updated the app and Apple was still going to delist it. And now we hear that you finally have approval. What happened in those last moments?
Yeah, so I thought I was trying to appease the guidelines by making it very clear that you're not actually tipping the content when you click the button. So I updated the button to tip the profile. But they said not even that's, they just don't want it. They basically want to make it hard for people to use this feature because they don't want content tipping to take off with Bitcoin. So even if I felt like I was following their guidelines, they said it still wasn't good. So I was just forced to remove it from the post altogether. You can still tip from the profile, like on Twitter. Twitter does this as well. But this calls into question a lot of other Bitcoin apps on the App Store, such as like Fountain or like these podcasting 2.0 value for value apps. Like, technically, those aren't even allowed, given what they told me. So it kind of worries me that a lot of Bitcoin apps are going to be at risk now.
So a couple of things. Did you is this specifically because it tipped in Bitcoin? I mean, if you used, let's say, Apple Pay to tip, would they have been fine with that? And second of all, did you point out? Did you say to them, look, you have these other apps that do the same thing. Why am I getting heat?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do that because I didn't want to call them out and put them at risk. But I did think about. I know. I guess yeah. Now I did it. I just didn't want to do it during the review. It's true though. Yeah. So this idea of using in-app purchases. Well, in-app purchases, you can't use that for peer-to-peer tipping to anyone, like censorship resistant tipping to anyone in the world. So even if I wanted to use in-app purchases, I couldn't for this particular use case. That's what makes it interesting. So I really think that Apple should think different and embrace Bitcoin, and maybe think about integrating Bitcoin, and just they should be embracing it, not fighting it. It's an open protocol, so why not? They could do it and bring Apple Pay to the entire planet.
There's nobody there that you're like talking to. There's no like individual. Like, is there like a customer service rep that you have a kind of a business development person, somebody, a human being, not an AI?
Yeah, so the people I was talking to is just the App Store reviewers who are very strict on these guidelines. It wasn't any high level business person who's looking to integrate Bitcoin. I think that's going to need to be another conversation.
You didn't talk to their manager, go full Karen.
No, I just trying to stay on the App Store, and then maybe I'll pick my battle and do another fight later on. But I just want to keep it on the App Store because apparently it's much harder to get on after you're removed. So.
This battle between Apple and Web3 isn't one that's unique to the Bitcoin space. We hear a lot about Web3 gaming apps that have been deplatformed by Apple or are looking at, alternatives because they are experiencing some of the same issues with you. Going through this process, what's your outlook as it pertains to Web3 apps, crypto apps, and major players like Apple who kind of really control whether or not people use your product?
Yeah, I mean, so we're building all this tech on open protocols. So, this tech works. You can still receive tips from other people from like Android on Damus. So like it's going to be a hard battle if they want to fight like open protocols that are censorship resistant. So I think what they're going to find is they're just going to keep losing more and more customers, and they're going to move to these other platforms that support these protocols in detail. So I think they're just going to eventually they either join us or they I don't know they lose.
And what's the timeline for that? Because I mean, if we look at how many customers Apple have right now, it is the majority of the market, right? And once you have one Apple product, it's very likely you have many more because Apple just makes your life very convenient. If you think Apple's going to start losing customers and they're going to start coming to the decentralized side, the dark side, maybe, what's your, when do you think that's going to happen?
Like the optimist in me is like, oh yeah, this is definitely going to happen, being a big Bitcoiner. But in reality, it's exactly what you say. Like it's hard, it's going to take a long time to convince people that Bitcoin is the way forward. So yeah, it might just be like I just have a dumbed down version of my app on the App Store, and then I work on other Android versions and desktop versions. That looks like that's going to be my path, but it's kind of sad that it's always going to be nerfed in some sense on the App Store.
And so do you consider this a win or a small win for your app and I guess the rest of the industry?
I mean, the PR has been pretty crazy. So like, just the people seem really excited. People really care about what's being built here, like in these decentralized protocols, these decentralized social protocols with Bitcoin integrated. So you can just feel a lot of that passion. So I feel like it's a win just because it's getting the word out there. Like, this is what Apple's doing. Maybe we should be fighting this. And then so it's a big of a part of a bigger battle that we're fighting. And I think overall it's good just getting the news out.
I do want to ask about how many downloads have you had compared to pre-fight with Apple? I mean, what's been the uptick in downloads that you've had for your apps?
Yeah, so it feels like whenever I get in a fight with Apple, it just like there's all these news articles that get written, and I get huge bursts of users join. So in the past week, I've gotten like 20 to 30,000 downloads, which has been pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
You're like the Meghan and Harry of crypto right now, getting into fights and getting down. So that's good. If you have any other feuds, I mean, you do you plan any other feuds anytime soon?
I mean, I don't go out of my way to pick, fights. I just feel like really upset when I feel like Apple's boot is under me, and I just want to build cool stuff, right? So yeah, so I'll always express my unhappiness to the social verse when they do stuff like this.
You don't want to say anything about Elon Musk?
I think Elon Musk is on my team on this one. He probably wants to add tipping to Twitter as well. And this is probably, I noticed he was commenting on a couple of threads by Tim Sweeney on the same topic. So I think we're all in the same fight, even though we're kind of competitors.
All right, Will. Well, continue rallying the troops. Thank you for joining us this morning.
All right, cheers. Thanks, guys.
That was Damus founder Will Kassarin.